Georgia Floridians woke up this morning with the news of the person who they elected by almost 67% of the vote in 2020 is no longer the state attorney. Why? Because the dictator in Florida, Ron DeSantis, has suspended Monique Worrell from her position. Why? Well, he claims that she wasn't doing her job. She wasn't prosecuting crimes.
What are they supposed to do? Again, they don't want crime going crazy. People going crazy on the streets like in Oakland, California, and D.C., Chicago. Again, we understand what's happening. These liberal left-leaning prosecutors, they're not doing their damn job. And again, that's what the problem is. She is not doing her job. I mean, again, look at D.C. The councilman just the other day, said that, they need the National Guard in. Because, again, crime is so bad. Things have risen double digits, burglary, rape, assault. They've risen double digits over the last year. So, again, we have got to understand. We have got to prosecute crimes. And, again, if you're the prosecutor and you're not prosecuting crimes, you're not going after people, you're not making the community safe, you're not doing your job.
Monique Worrell's administration of criminal justice in the Ninth Circuit has been clearly and fundamentally derelict so as to constitute both neglect of duty and incompetence. The policies or practices listed in our executive order suspending her that constitutes the grounds of suspension are as follows. One, a pattern or practice to avoid minimum mandatory sentences for gun crimes. Pattern or practice to avoid minimum mandatory sentences for drug trafficking offenses, pattern and practice allowing juvenile offenders to avoid serious charges and incarceration altogether, pattern or practice to avoid valid and applicable sentencing enhancements, pattern or practice limiting charges for child pornography, pattern or practice for seeking withholding of adjudication in situations not permitted under Florida law. Prosecutors do have a certain amount of discretion about which cases to bring and which not. But what this state attorney has done is abuse that discretion and has effectively nullified certain laws in the state of Florida. That breaches her duties that she owes to the people of Florida under our state constitution.
Guys, man, we got to understand there are minimum mandatory sentences for certain crimes. And there are for a reason. Again, you can't let people go. You can't let people just, slip on the wrist and let them go because, again, they will commit the same crimes and even worse over again. Again, you're not making the community safe. You're not making your state safe. The 9th District, you're not making them safe. They're not safe. Again, they're in danger. And again, people like you, people like this woman, she would not, prosecute people that were committing crimes that were in danger in the community. And again, man, I saw one interview where she said, I'm letting people go that aren't violent offenders or whatever. I'm not. No, you're letting people go. I'm sure you're letting those go too, but you're letting people go that are a danger to the community. You are letting people go that are a danger. And we truly have to understand that. And again, things aren't going to get better. I mean, look at California, Los Angeles. Look at Chicago. Look at D.C. Look at New York, man. They're all the same. Every single one of them. Your liberal, leftist policies are failing.
What she was doing is what she ran on, and the voters clearly said they wanted to see that. Monique Worrell joins us right now from Orlando. Glad to have you here on Rollerbart Unfiltered. You said in your news conference today, y'all have been waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, good evening, Roland. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back with you. And this is the day that we've been waiting for. It's the day that we've been talking about for months now.
And so he lays out, all blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And he actually says incompetence. But the things that you were doing as the state attorney, you ran on. So it seems as if Central Floridians were fine with that because you got almost 67% of the vote. You dusted your opponent.
They didn't realize that she was going to make the community less safe. That she was going to make them less safe. Again, she's not going after people that are committing violent crimes. And again, man, she is not going to make things better. She's going to make things worse. So again, they may have voted for her, but that doesn't mean that they voted for her the way she did things. Again, you might vote for somebody, to be in office, but if they come into office and they don't do their damn job, again, they need to be let go.
The thing that I was doing is exactly the thing that I ran and was elected to do. And, it's dereliction of duties because it doesn't align with the governor's politics. So I think it's very hypocritical for him to get up there and say that politics has no place in law and order, because this is all about politics. This is all about his opportunity to restore a failed presidential campaign.
So this judge comes in. He immediately gets rid of your two lieutenants. And my understanding, he brings in as the number two the person you beat, or the person who came in fourth place. So a loser who the voters didn't want is now the number two in your office?
That is absolutely correct. It's strange how these things work. After I was elected, I met with Ryan Williams because he wanted to be my number two. And I guess he decided that he was going to become my number two one way or the other. With or without me, he was going to be number two in that office, and he has succeeded.
Yeah, I'm going to put up a clip of what Ron DeSantis had to say about her, and exactly why they had to remove her, and some of the cases that she let go and what happened afterwards. And again, we have to understand there are real world consequences to this kind of behavior. Again, we have to prosecute criminals. We have to hold them accountable for what they do. But let me stick at the clip of what Ron DeSantis had to say.
We can look to see all these different instances of people who have committed criminal offenses, victimized people because they were not held accountable in accordance with the laws of Florida when they had the opportunity to hold them accountable. In November of 2022, there was a 17-year-old Lorenzo Larry shot and killed his pregnant girlfriend, DeShayla Ferguson. He had previously been arrested in May of 2022 on several charges, including carrying a concealed firearm, possession of a firearm on school property, and criminal possession of a firearm by a minor. But he was released after all these arrests. Worrell's office did not act on any of these charges until after he killed his girlfriend and their unborn child. In 2018, Jazir Dobson invaded a home in Orange County and robbed the occupants at gunpoint. Dobson was charged with multiple counts of armed burglary with a firearm, robbery with a firearm, and false imprisonment. These charges carried a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence with the maximum of life in prison. After Worrell took office in 2021, 5 of the charges were not prosecuted and adjudication was withheld on the remaining. Withholding adjudication means that Dobson is not considered a convicted felon, and possession of a firearm by a felon would not apply if he were rearrested in the future. And he was sentenced to only 51 weeks of jail time, and he was sentenced as a youthful offender. And then just this past weekend, Worrell was at the center of another major controversy. Dayton VL was arrested in March of 2023 for sexual battery on a minor, as well as lewd and lascivious molestation. The arrest was made while he was on probation for another offense. That probation began in February of 2022, and yet he was still let out on bond and then tragically shot 2 Orlando police officers. I have no doubt that today's decision is not only consistent with the Constitution and laws of Florida, and that we have a right to act. I know that today's decision, we had a duty to act to protect the public from this dereliction of duty.
The people that obey the laws, they come first. We have to protect the citizens of this country. And again, people like Ron DeSantis, if they have to get rid of prosecutors, they refuse to prosecute criminals. Oh well. Again, we have to understand they need to do that. They have to get rid of people that are unwilling to prosecute criminals. Because again, they don't want, like Florida to turn into DC or Chicago, or Oakland, California. Again, we don't want that. We have got to understand, in DC right now, they're calling for the National Guard. Because again, there's double-digit increases in crime over last year. So again, we have truly got to understand what is happening. And we have no choice. We have no choice but to prosecute criminals and to hold them accountable for the crimes they commit. And if we don't, we're going to have a really bad state. Things are going to get really bad. And, again, things are going to get worse. And they're going to continue to get worse until people are willing to stand up and say, nope, this is BS. And you're gone. You're gone. We want you out of here. But hey, guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
You son of a